Sense, connecting sight, sound and life. Build a terrarium with Sense Arts by Kew Gardens.
Hi everybody, I'm Rosie from Kew Gardens and welcome to my Sense Arts and Wellbeing Make Your Own Terrarium session. I am a female with long dark brown hair and I'm wearing a short sleeved black t-shirt. I'm sat in a pale blue room and I'm surrounded by some beautiful green plants. Scents are committed to people living creative and active lives, so this session is auto-described, captioned and British Sign Language interpreted. My workshop is inspired by the Sense Arts Connect Manifesto, created by visual artist Tanya Raba-Weber. From the manifesto, I'm going to explore the theme of seek new experiences, because today we are going to be creative with nature. So, a terrarium is a bit like an aquarium, but instead of fish, you keep plants inside it. So I'm holding up an example of a small, simple terrarium that I made earlier. So it's in a large glass jar, and in the bottom of the glass jar there's a small single layer of pebbles and stones, and on top of that there's a layer of about 2 centimetres of soil, and on top of that I've got a few little leafy green plants, and I've also got a little bit of moss in here as well. So terrariums are a really nice way of bringing some greenery and a bit of nature into your home, and you can create and build a really small simple terrarium like this one with things that you can find around your house and outside. So the first step today is to do some exploring. So you could go to your local park, have a look in your garden, have a look around the house to collect the materials that you need. So the first thing that you'll need is a clear container. So this was actually an old jar that had a candle in it. I've got a big old mason jar here that's probably about 25 centimetres tall, about 20 centimetres across. You could do a smaller one with just like a small jam jar that you might have around the house. Equally, if you don't have anything glass, any sort of clear plastic container would work. For example, you could even use an old plastic drinks bottle. So here I have a 1 litre drinks bottle, and I've drawn a dark black line in Sharpie pen around 5 fingers up from the bottom of the bottle. And if you wanted to, you could cut into the bottle here with scissors carefully, and you can remove the top of the bottle, and that would leave you with a clear plastic container at the bottom that you could use. You'll need to collect some small stones or pebbles, some soil, and then any natural materials that you like the look of. So that could be pine cones, moss, maybe flowers, leaves, anything that you like the look of. So I went on a sensory walk earlier to collect my bits and pieces, and you could go on a sensory walk too. If you want to download the Sense Active Toolkit, there's a link in the description below. So to begin, the first thing I'm going to do is put on a pair of light blue gardening gloves that my mum bought for me, and that is because when you're working and touching lots of things that you found outside, you just want to be really careful to be hygienic. Soil has lots of bacteria in it which could make you ill, so if you have any gloves, like gardening gloves or even just like waterproof rubber gloves from the kitchen, I'd really recommend that you wear these. And as well as gloves, you really want to make sure that you wash your hands carefully after you've collected your materials. So I think I am going to use the large glass mason jar that I mentioned earlier. So I've placed that down on the table in front of me, and opening up the lid. And the first thing I'm going to do is take some handful of some gravel that I collected from my driveway this morning. So it's a loud crunchy noise from the gravel. I'm just going to drop one handful. I might add a little bit more. So that is 2 handfuls of gravel in the bottom of the jar. I've actually got a bit more, so I might go for a 3rd handful. But you only need the gravel, the small stones, to go maybe 1 finger or 2 fingers width up from the bottom of your container. So the next thing that I am going to add in is the soil. So I am using some compost that I bought from a local shop, but you might have some soil that you can collect in your garden. If you maybe have some house plants, you might have some compost in, and you want to add a few centimetres layer of soil. So I'm probably going to add about 4 centimetres of soil. So at this stage we've got a thin layer of pebbles at the bottom and then a slightly thicker layer of soil, and I'm just going to pat that down so it's flat in the jar. And then the next thing you want to do is start adding in some of the materials you collected. So I have got some tree bark that I might add in. So this piece of tree bark is probably about 15 centimetres, which I'm going to pop down in the bottom. I also collected some really nice green moss, which I'll pop in. This small green plant with some red berries that I collected from my front garden. I think I will pop that in the jar. I'm trying to stand it up in the jar so that there's some layers of height in my terrarium. There we go. I'm also going to add a twig of rosemary that I also found in my front garden. So the rosemary smells really nice, which is really fun to work with because you get a nice smell of rosemary around you. And that's a really nice thing to think about when you're collecting your materials in the park, thinking about what the smells are, what the colours are, how it feels in your hands. Is it soft? Is it crunchy? There's so much out there, and what's really nice as well is throughout the year, if you go out and about into local nature spots or green spaces, and whatever time of year you go, you're going to find different things. So sometimes you might find orange crunchy leaves in the autumn. In the summer you might find more flowers. So far I've got the pebbles and stones in the bottom, a layer of soil, and now I've added a few different bits of twigs that I found or bits of plants. So I'm just adding some of these long red twigs that I found in the park on a tree. So I'm just breaking it off so it's about 20 centimetres long so that it can fit into my terrarium. And I added a conker that I found that had fallen off a tree in the park as well, which I thought was nice. And I think that might be it for my terrarium. I'll hold it close to the camera so that you can see. It's got some really nice greenery in it, and there's a few buds, purple buds in there, and a loose stone. Feel free to get creative with your terrarium. You could keep it quite simple and just add a few bits and bobs, or you might want to add more and make your terrarium full of green goodness. Be as creative as you can, and think about how you feel when you're doing it and how you feel when you're out in nature. Does it feel calming? Does it feel relaxing? I think I really enjoy noticing and focusing on the small bits of nature, so the shapes of leaves, and how they feel and how they sound. And I think there's lots of research that's been done that shows that being out in nature or being with nature is really good for your well-being. So I would really encourage you to get in touch with nature as much as you can, and get creative with how you do it. So today we have made our own terrariums. This is the end of the session. I really hope you enjoyed today's activity, and yeah, I hope you will get creative with nature. So it's goodbye from me. Thank you.
Logo, Kew Gardens. Sense. No one left out of life. Website sense.org.uk.